ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतः तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्ट जीवजीवातवे नमः। இதில் முற்பூத்தால் பெரிய பிராட்டியாரை முன்னிட்டு ஈஸ்வரன் திருவடிகளை உபாயமாக பத்துகிறது. பிற்கூத்தால் அச்சேத்திலே அடிமை இருக்கிறது. So the sutra number 7 or 121, if you take it as the overall sutra number, இதில் முற்கூத்தால் பெரிய பிராட்டியாரை உபாயமாக முன்னிட்டு ஈஸ்வரன் திருவடிகளை உபாயமாக பத்துகிறது. So there are two sentences. The main uniqueness of the Daya Maha Mantra is that it has two sentences. Whereas the Ashtakshara Maha Mantra has only one sentence, Om Namo Narayanaya. The Daya Mantra, some people say it is called Daya Mantra because it has two sentences. Shriman Narayana Charano Sharanam Prapadya Srimate Narayana. So Shriman Narayana Charano Sharanam Prapadya is the first sentence, and Srimate Narayana Namaha is the second sentence. So he first, Pidalokacharya, explains what is the main objective of the first and second sentence. So Murkutal, that means in the first sentence, பெரிய பிராட்டியாரை முன்னிட்டு ஈஸ்வரன் திருவடிகளை உபாயமாக பத்துகிறது. We beseech the divine feet of the Lord Narayana through the good offices of Goddess Mahalakshmi. So பெரிய பிராட்டியாரை முன்னிட்டு, that's what he says. It means through the offices. I don't know whether I am right in using the word offices, but literally that is the meaning. and திருக்கூத்தால சேர்த்தீரே அடிமை இருக்கிறது. The second half denotes that we surrender to the twofold principle of Goddess Mahalakshmi and Narayana, or Lord Narayana, who is combined with Goddess Mahalakshmi, which is known as Sherti in Sanskrit. Sherti means togetherness. The literal meaning of the word Sherti is togetherness. It is also known as Mithuna in Sanskrit. So that is why it was mentioned as Oru Mithuna Meyana Makku Uddesham. We always worship the Lord Narayana and Goddess Mahalakshmi together. Though in some places we are supposed to worship them independently also, 99% of the times all Shri Vaishnavas worship the duo, duo as the word, that is the literal word that is used. That is the duo of Goddess Mahalakshmi and Lord Narayana. So that is explained very beautifully by Swami Manavadamani, who says, அதாவது இந்த துவயத்தில் பூர்வகண்டத்தாலே, பூர்வகண்டா are the previous portion, ஸ்ரீமதே நாராயணாய நமः. So ஸ்ரீமத், Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So Narayana is the word. That Narayana is qualified by the word Srimat. What is the meaning of the word Srimat? In Sanskrit it is mentioned as Matu Pratyaya. Shri is the word Shri, or the nominal stem Shri is succeeded by the suffix called Matu, which becomes Mat effectively. So tadu asya asti or asmin asti iti matupu. That is the Paninian Sutra that facilitates this form, which means that entity which is possessing Shri, that entity in which Shri exists, is known as Srimat. That is, that entity which is the possessed. So one who possesses Goddess Mahalakshmi, or in whom Goddess Mahalakshmi resides. Both are the meanings of the suffix Mat, which means Srimat, which actually becomes Srimat. So consisting of Lord Mahalakshmi in any manner. There may be several types of or dimensions to the relationship between Goddess Mahalakshmi and Lord Narayana. But there is another sambandha also, which is denoted by Matupu. It is Nitya Yoge Matupu. They are eternally associated with each other, and no force in the earth or anywhere in the entire universe can separate them in any manner. So it's an eternal association. That is why in the Ramayana, when Ravana, the demon, asks Sita to become his, or leave Rama and come to Ravana, Sita, the great goddess Sita, says a sentence where she says, Ananya Raghavena Ham Bhaskarena Prabhayata. I am not at all different, undistinguishable or indistinguishable, however you want to call it, or inseparable from Rama. I can never be separated from Rama. And she gives a very wonderful example, which is Bhaskarena Prabhayatha. Can you separate the orb of the sun from the sun? No, because they are eternally associated with each other. Just like the orb, ORB, I think you can understand what I am mentioning. Just as the orb of the sun is inseparable from the sun itself, similarly, I am also inseparable from Rama. Nobody can wean me away from Rama under any circumstances. That's what she tells Rama. That means that is known as Nitya Yoga. And this suffix called Bat has another meaning called Nitya Yoga. That means eternal association. So goddess Shri is eternally associated with Lord Narayana, and no force on earth, or they call it no force on earth. That is a real understatement. Any force in the entire, or in all the three worlds, if we can say like that, if I may put it like that, can separate goddess Mahalakshmi from Lord Narayana. So, Srimat Narayana, Narayana who is eternally associated with goddess Mahalakshmi. Such Narayana Charanau. So, I beseech the two divine lotus feet of that Narayana who is eternally associated with Mahalakshmi. Ishwaran Tiruvadiyalai Sharanam Prapadye என்று உபாயமாக பத்துகிறது. Excuse me. So what is the meaning of the word prapadye? I surrender. Prapatti means surrender. Prapadye is the first person singular form of the word prapatti, or the root pad, which is having the prefix of pra. So prapadyate, prapadyate, prapadyante, when you decline the verb prapad, the first person singular is prapadye. That means I surrender. I surrender unto whom? I surrender unto the divine two lotus feet of Lord Narayana, who is eternally associated with Mahalakshmi. And so I surrender as what? Sharanam prapadye. I surrender considering the two divine feet of Lord Narayana as the means to attain what? Attain moksha. That is understood. So we don't say Sriman Narayana Charanau Mokshartham Prapadye. That is not mentioned. I beseech or I surrender to the feet of Lord Narayana as the means. Means of what is not mentioned in the mantra because it is understood. To attain something exalted. That is moksha itself. Of course, somebody may want to have some other mundane fruits or mundane results also coming his way. For that also they may use the Dvaya Mahamantra. But that is not very advisable, or it's not very natural. So the main aim or objective of surrendering to the divine lotus feet of Lord Narayana, who is eternally associated with Mahalakshmi, is to attain moksha or liberation. உத்தரகண்டத்தாலே ஸ்ரீமதே என்று பெரிய பிராட்டியாரும் அவனுமான சேர்த்தியிலே நாராயணாயா என்கிற சதுர்த்தியாலே கைங்கரியத்தை அர்த்திக்கிறதென்கை. So I hope you are now familiar with the individual meanings of the individual words. Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. If you have any doubt, you may please ask me. You may just interrupt me and ask. So the second portion is Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. Namaha is salutations. To whom? To Lord Narayana, who is eternally associated with Goddess Mahalakshmi. Once again, it is in a way a slight repetition. But the hidden meaning is different, therefore it's not a repetition. So Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. So Narayana, who is eternally associated with Shri, I bow down to him. Narayanaya. So when the word Namaha is found, the word that is preceding Namaha should always be in Chaturthi Vibhakti or dative case. It becomes Narayanaya. So if you are familiar with Sanskrit language and little bit of Sanskrit grammar also, you will know Narayana Shabda when you, in the different cases, you actually decline it. Decline means not the declining to do something like that. I am talking in a technical language associated with Sanskrit grammar. So Narayana, Narayano, Narayana, like that we tell it in the 7 different cases. That is nominative case, accusative case, instrumental case, dative, ablative, then genitive and locative, and then vocative case, 7 plus 1. So Narayana is in dative case or Chaturthi Bhakti. So what does that mean? It has a specific meaning in this context, which means we also request him to shower on us the grace and also the privilege of allowing us to serve him. That is known as Kainkariya. Namaste Kainkariya Virodhi Nivritti Pratipadakamayale. So we say Namaha. We have read the meaning of the word Namaha in detail in the first Tirumantra Prakarana. What does it mean, etc. Here also it is mentioned in a concise manner when he says Namaste Kainkariya Virodhi Nivritti Pratipadakamayale. So Kainkariya is what? Kainkariya is servitude unto the Lord Narayana and his various devotees, etc., or to Lord Narayana himself in various hundreds or thousands or innumerable ways. There are so many ways to serve him. It is known as Kainkariya, and that is our ultimate aim. Engaging in the servitude of the Lord is the ultimate aim of all of us, all the Jivatmas, according to Sri Vaishnava philosophy. We have to be very clear in this regard. And there are several aspects that can impede our intention to perform Kainkariya or servitude. So, Namas Kainkariya Virodhi Nivritti Pratipadakamayale. The word Namaha denotes the fact or denotes the ridding all the impediments that impede the Kainkariya or servitude that we want to perform to the Lord Narayana. Therefore, Adime Irekkirade Endravidile Yantarbhutam. So, the meaning that the word Namaha, the meaning the word Namaha conveys is that it includes the aspect of ridding away all the impediments or obstacles that can occur in one's life that impede the performance of Kainkariya or service to the Lord. So when Namaha is mentioned properly and its meaning is realized, it means the Jivatma can eternally be engaged in the servitude of the Lord and no force on earth can prevent that. So that is the meaning of the second portion, Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. So he has overall given the meaning. Now, hereafter, he will say, Pillalokacharya goes on to explain what is the meaning of the individual words. Shri Endre Periya Pirattiyarukku Tirunamam. So, Srimate, Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadya, you have the word Shri first. In the second portion, you have Srimate Narayana Namaha. There also you have the word Shri. So, what does Shri mean? What is the word? Literal meaning of the word Shri. So, Pillalokacharya says, Shri Endre Periya Virattiyarukku Tirunamam. Shri is the proper noun, the name or nomenclature or the proper noun of Goddess Mahalakshmi, who is known as Periya Pirattiyar. Piratti means Mother Divine or the consort. The premier most consort of the Lord is Periya Pirattiyar or Goddess Mahalakshmi. And Shri is her name. So then he says, Shriyate Shrayate. As I have all along been mentioning to you, in Sanskrit, we depend upon the etymology of the word to extract or know the exact meaning of the word. So here, Swami Pillalokacharya was a great scholar in Sanskrit also. Not only Tamil, not only Manipravanam, but also Sanskrit. He shows the etymology of the word Shri. So there are two etymologies of the word Shriyate and Shrayate. Shriyate iti Shrihi and Shrayate iti Shrihi. So that is well explained by Swami Manavadavamani. He says, Ini Pratipadam Artham Arulichayvada Tirudlam Patti Srimat Padartham Arulichayha Upakramikkirar. Shri Endra Periya Pirattiyarukku Tirunamam Adavadu So the question arises, why does Pillai have to say that Shri is the name of Goddess Mahalakshmi? Is it not known to people that it is the name of Goddess Mahalakshmi? All people know it. So in all the Sampradaya works, we say Shriyaf Patiyai, it begins. When one has to refer to Lord Narayana, it is always it is said, the Lord of Goddess Shri. Now, what does that mean? He is the consort or husband of Goddess Mahalakshmi. This is well known. Why do you need to say Shri and why Shri is the name of Goddess Mahalakshmi? Why are you saying? Do people not know it? Is it such an important thing that you have to devote an exclusive sutra for this? No, that is not the case. That is not the situation, because Manavara Swami Manavara Mamani says, Shri Shabdam Sampadadi Helakum Vachakama Halokatile Nadandu Porakkangayale. The word Shri has several meanings in the popular usage, because Shri also means prosperity. So in several cases, the word Shri, in Kannada they say Bhari Shrimant, huge Shima. That means Shri in this context means property or riches. So since the word Shri denotes things like riches, property, or material prosperity, there can be some confusion. Sriman Narayana means if somebody says Narayana, who is the owner of all these properties? No, that is not the meaning. That is to be conveyed in this context. Of course, he is the owner of everything in this world. All the things, including a small tip of a blade of grass, belongs to him only. So that way, every aspect or every property, entire world belongs to him only. So that way also he may be called as Shriman. But in this context, that is not the meaning. So to separate that and show that the word Shri is the proper name of Periya Pirati, or the senior most consort of Lord Vishnu or Mahanarayana. Swami Pillai gives a separate sutra, Shri Endru Periya Piratiyarukku Tirunamam. The word Shri is the name of Goddess Mahalakshmi. How can the word Shri denote Goddess Mahalakshmi? Is there any specific pramana? Is there any proof that this name is hers? As I said in Sanskrit, the etymology of the word is very important. Why is Rama called as Rama? Why not by another name? Why is Krishna called as Krishna? Not by, of course, he has several other names, but the principal name is Rama. Why? The reason is Ramante yoginaha yasminiti Ramaha. Ramayati iti Ramaha. A person who, when meditated upon, gives eternal bliss to those who meditate upon him, or who pleases yogis or his divine devotees. He is known as Rama. Similarly, Karshati iti Krishna. Karshi dhatu, which means Karshati, Manamsi Akarshati, one who mesmerizes the minds of his devotees. He is known as Krishna. So the root is Karshane, or for the word Krishna. Similarly, for the word Rama, the root is Ramukridaya. It means enjoying. Enjoying means not mundane enjoyments like that, enjoy those enjoyments which result from consumption of alcohol or these type of carnal cravings. This enjoyment is divine enjoyment, where a person is immersed in eternal bliss by meditating upon the supreme lordship of Rama. Similarly, here, how is the word Shri derived? Shriyate, Shrayate. So he says, இது இவருடைய புருஷகாரத்துக்கு ஏகாந்தமான ஸ்வபாவங்களை சொல்லக் கடவராயிருக்கும். The word Shri is very, very important because it is derived in two ways. Shriyate, Shrayate. So one Shriyate means one who is beseeched, one who is surrendered to. And Shrayate means one who surrenders. These are the two meanings. It is denoted by Shriyate and Shrayate respectively. That means individual souls or Chetanas like us, we surrender to her so that she will ensure our liberation is taken care of. Whereas she surrenders to Lord Narayana on our behalf and for our sake. Therefore, she is called as Shri. That is devoted by Shrayate. The fact that she is beseeched by us is denoted by the etymology Shriyate. So one should very clearly understand the difference between Shriyate and Shrayate. Shriyate means one who is surrendered to. Shrayate means one who surrenders. Both the meanings are valid. That is why he has shown both the meanings, Shriyate and Shrayate. So she is surrendered unto by us for the sake of recommending our case to Lord Narayana. And she herself, on her own accord, on her own volition, she also surrenders to Lord Narayana for our sake. So that is known as Shrayate. So that is very beautifully explained by Swami Manavadavani. In the Shri Shabdathukku Artham Arulichayvadaha Prathamam Idil Mel Vanda Vyutpatti Dvayattai Arulichayhirar. So two types of etymology as I have just explained. Shriyate, Shrayate Andre Adavadi Shring Sevayam Indira Dhatu Vine. The root is Shring, which means to surrender or to perform service to. Indira Dhatu Vine Shriyate iti Shrihi. Shrayate iti Shrihi என்று சித்தமான கர்மணி வியுத்பத்தியையும் கர்த்தரி வியுத்பத்தியையும் சொன்னபடி. So the meaning is, she is beseeched by us and she besieges the Supreme Lord Narayana. Both these meanings are conveyed by these two etymologies, that is Shriyate iti Shrihi and Shrayate iti Shrihi. Then இதற்கு அர்த்தம் எல்லாருக்கும் இவளை பற்றி ஸ்வரூபலாபமாய் இவள் தனக்கும் அவரை பற்றி ஸ்வரூபலாபமாய் இருக்கும். So all others bow down and surrender to Goddess Shri for their own fulfillment. And Goddess Mahalakshmi herself surrenders to Lord Narayana for her fulfillment. But the question arises as, has she already not attained fulfillment? She has already attained fulfillment, there is no doubt about that. But she boasts to the Lord Narayana to make us, or all people like us, like the Chaitanas, who are all in this world, or everybody in this world, to facilitate their fulfillment, she worships the Lord Narayana, or she surrenders to him. என்ற சித்தமான கர்மணி வியுத்பத்தியையும் கர்த்தரி வியுத்பத்தியையும் சொன்னபடி இவ்யுத்பத்தி துவயத்துக்கு அர்த்தமருளி செய்கிறார். இதற்கு அர்த்தம் எல்லாருக்கும் இவளை பற்றி ஸ்வரூபலாபமாய் இவள் தனக்கும் அவனை பற்றி ஸ்வரூபலாபமாய் இருக்கும் என்று further explained by Swami Manavadavani, who says, அதாவது இவ்வுபய வியுத்பத்திக்கும் அர்த்தம் ஸ்ரீயதே என்று எல்லாராலும் சேவிக்கப்படா நின்றையாலே சகல சேதனருக்கும் இவளை பற்றி தங்களுடைய ஸ்வரூபலாபமாய் ஷயதே என்று ஈஸ்வர சேவியார் என்றாடுங்கையாலே இவள் தனக்கும் ஈஸ்வரனை பற்றி தன்னுடைய ஸ்வரூபலாபமாயிருக்கும் என்கை. இவழ்தனக்கு சேதன விஷயத்தில் சேஷித்வம் ஈஸ்வர விஷயத்தில் சேஷத்துவம் என்றும் உண்டாயிரே இருப்பது. ஆகையால் இந்த சேவியத்துவ சேவகத்துவங்கள் இரண்டும் இவளுக்கு நித்தியமாய் செல்லா நிற்கிறது. So the meaning is, you have to very carefully understand this terminology called Shesha Sheshi Bhava. Shesha means the person who is subservient in all respects. Sheshi means the person to whom he is subservient. Suppose I have a servant. I will just give a mundane example. I have a servant who serves me in all ways I want him to serve. For instance, he may sweep the floor of my house, he may wash my clothes, he may clean the utensils of my house, he may run errands for me and do something. So he is like a servant who does everything that he is bid to do. So that is known as Shesha. That means one who is subservient. So if I tell the servant to do this, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, and he does it. So the servant is known as Shesha, whereas the master is known as Sheshi. So here, when you have two etymologies, Shriyate iti Shrihi and Shrayate iti Shrihi. Shriyate means she is the master, because she is approached by us, all Chetanas or Jivatmas. And Shrayate iti Shrihi, she becomes the servant of Supreme Lord Narayana. So she has Sheshatva as well as Sheshitva. When she is associated with Lord Narayana, she is Shesha. That means she is subservient to him. And as far as the relationship between Shesha, that is Shri, and we Jivatmas are concerned, she is Sheshi, she is the master, and we are the servants. So I will just give a very simple example. You have Rama, Dasharatha, and Lavakushas. So Rama is the son of Dasharatha, but he is the father of Lava and Kusha. So Rama becomes both the father and son, but he becomes the father when we are referring to Lava and Kusha, and he becomes the son when we are referring to Dasharatha. Similarly, Goddess Mahalakshmi can be Shrayate iti Shrihi and Shriyate iti Shrihi. So Shriyate iti Shrihi is when she is surrendered to by we Jivatmas. Then she becomes Shrihi on account of being surrendered to. Then Shrayata iti Shrihi, that Vyutpatti or that explanation holds good because she bows down to Lord Narayana, or she surrenders to Lord Narayana. When she surrenders to Lord Narayana, it is the Vyutpatti or the meaning Shrayata iti Shrihi which comes into play. Therefore, she is both Shesha as well as Sheshi. She is Shesha as compared to Lord Narayana. And when she is compared to us, then she becomes Sheshi. So Sheshatva and Sheshitva both are there in Goddess Mahalakshmi, but in different contexts. Just like Rama is father to Lava and Kusha, but son to Dasharatha, similarly here also. Ivaldhanakku Chetana Vishayatil Sheshitvam. So she is Sheshi as far as we Chetanas or individual souls are concerned. Ishvara Vishayatil Sheshatvam. She becomes the Shesha when compared to the Supreme Lord Narayana because she is subservient to him. So she is Sheshatva also is there in Shri. Sheshitva also is there in Shri. Just like Pitritva or fatherhood is there in Rama when compared to or in relation to Tava and Kusha. And sonhood also is there in Rama when referred to the King Dasharatha. Similarly, she becomes Sheshi when referred to with regard to Jivatmas. She becomes Shesha when she is referred to as far as the Paramatma Lord Narayana is concerned. ஈஸ்வர விஷயத்தில் சேஷத்துவம் என்றுமுண்டாயிரே இருப்பது. ஆகையால் இந்த சேவியத்துவ சேவகத்துவங்கள் இரண்டும் இவளுக்கு நித்தியமாய் செல்லா நிற்கிறது. So she is Sevya, that is, she becomes the worship person who is worshipped too. It is known as Sevya, Sevaitum Yogyaha Sevya. Then when she is with Lord Narayana, she becomes the Sevaka or the servant. So she is having both Sevakatva as well as Sevyatva. She is having masterhood as well as servanthood. Masterhood when compared to us or in reference to us, servanthood when referring to Lord Narayana. And both of these are eternal in her. That is the uniqueness of Goddess Mahalakshmi, which is explained in the sutra. And the next sutra is 11 number sutra. Ippodivalai cholluhirade purushakaramaha. In this context, Goddess Mahalakshmi is mentioned as the Purushakara. What is the meaning of the word Purushakara, etc.? You people may already know, but I will explain it as part of the explanation of the work in the next class. So today we conclude the class here because the next sutra is quite a long one and it requires a long explanation. So I will conclude here. Any questions are welcome.
So Swami, you're talking about the meaning of Srimate, meaning that
Yes.
Associated with the goddess Sri, or possessing the goddess Sri.
Yes.
But normally we use it when we say Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. It means he is possessing qualities of Sri. He's not possessing Sri in the same way that Srimad Narayana.
So Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha and Srimate Narayana Namaha is different. So in this context, Sri refers to the Aishwarya or prosperity. I am very glad that you asked this question. Because when you say Narayana and Srimate Narayana, it means the Lord who is eternally associated, possessed, and also in whom she resides eternally. That is known as Srimate. Srimate Narayana Namaha is that. But when we say Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha, it is not in that sense that we say it. So you have to refer to the words of sage Valmiki to understand the meaning. So while explaining or while referring to Lakshmana in the Ramayana, especially in the Aranya Kanda or later portion of Aranya Kanda, Ayodhya Kanda, where both Rama and Lakshmana have given up all their riches. And Lakshmana has followed Rama along with implements like the shovel and axe and things like that. Kalitra Pitakadharaha. He is worshipped as Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampannaha. Lakshmana who possesses Lakshmi. How can Lakshmana possess Lakshmi? Because Rama is the one who is possessing Lakshmi. How can Lakshmana possess Lakshmi? But Valmiki uses the word Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanna. He uses the word Lakshmi, not even Shri. Then it is mentioned as Lakshmi or Shri, refers to Aishwarya or prosperity. Then the question is, what type of prosperity did Lakshmana possess? He has given up all his belongings. He has given up all his ornaments. He has given up everything and he has come here with some shovel, pickaxe and axe and some implements like that. Then the answer is, Kainkarya Shri Sametaha. He has the greatest prosperity of all prosperities, that is servitude unto the Lord Narayana. Similarly, Satunagavara Shriman. You actually switch over to the story of Gajendra. It comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, in which you are an expert. So there, the Lord of Elephants, Gajendra, who is referred to as Gajendra Alwan in our Sampradaya because he surrendered to the Lord in such a way, as the Alvars did. So he is actually fighting a life or death battle with the crocodile which has caught him. And then he is about to die. But he says, Nara, and then he surrenders to Nara after fighting for 1,000 years. At that time, he is described as Satunagavara Shriman, who was associated with Shri. What sort of Shri prosperity is there in him? He is about to die. If there is one moment's delay in the God coming and protecting him, he is about to die. How can you call him Shriman? He is almost on his deathbed. No, he had the presence of mind. At least he gained the presence of mind to surrender unto the Lord by all means. So he is known as Shriman. So, Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. So Lakshmana, Ramanujacharya is the incarnation of Lakshmana, as we know. And he is eternally associated with Shri. He is Kainkariya Shri. He is not the possessor of Goddess Mahalakshmi. It can never happen because Goddess Mahalakshmi is exclusive to Lord Narayana. But Shriman here means Kainkariya Shriman. He is the best among the persons who can perform Kainkariya unto the Lord. That is Ramanujacharya. So that is why we tell Srimate Ramanujaya. So Srimate Narayana Namaha, totally different sense. Srimate is used in totally different sense. Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha, Srimate is used in totally different sense. But both the sense are very, very beautifully explained in our Sampradaya. Good question.
So Lakshmana is the embodiment of Kainkariya. He's
Yes.
Ilya Peramal.
Sheshatva.
Sheshatva, yes. And so
That is why he is known as Shesho Lakshmana Uchyate also. In Ramayana, it is a pun actually. Sakshad Ramo Raghushreshtha Shesho Lakshmana Uchyate. Shesha means he is also the Adishesha. And Adishesha himself that is why Alavandara Yamunacharya devotes one exclusive shloka and stotra ratna. Yathochitam Shesha iti rite janaihi. So his proper noun also, the name is Shesha. At the same time, due to his qualities also, he is known as Shesha. So there might be, I will give an example. So one person who is very dark in complexion, he might be having a name as Mr. White. Where people are named Mr. Black or Mr. White or something like that. But if a person who is very fair, whose complexion is very fair, has the name Mr. White, then even his proper name is white and also his complexion also is white. So both ways it suits him like that. So Shesha, let's say, is Lakshmana, who is named after Adishesha, and also who has all the qualities of being a Shesha or subservient person.
So Swami, you're also saying that Goddess Shri is eternally associated with Sriman Narayana.
Yes.
But we are also eternally associated with Sriman Narayana. This universe is also eternally associated with him. Everything is. So in what way is she? In what way is she more associated with Sriman Narayana eternally than us and the universe?
So we Jivatma, very good question. I'm very happy. We Jivatmas, we lose our realization and we think we are independent. But Goddess, it doesn't happen with Goddess Mahalakshmi. That is the greatness. And Goddess Mahalakshmi is also So whether she belongs to Jiva Koti or Ishvara Koti, let us not enter into that debate, because we don't know much about what it means really. But one thing is, she is the Achintya Shakti also of Lord Mahavishnu, Lord Vishnu and Lord Narayana. So she is the divine force that is eternally associated with. So she, the goddess Mahalakshmi, has several dimensions which Jivatma don't possess. So she is the eternal force that is associated with Lord Narayana. So that is the Achintya Shakti. So Vishnu Shri Anapayini, that's what it says. So that Achintya Shakti aspect is there, is exclusive to Goddess Mahalakshmi, which is not there in us. That is another different. That is another distinction between the other Jivatmas and Goddess Mahalakshmi.
So Madhvacharya has a book called Tattva Sankhya, and there he gives the definition of Shri as dukkha asprishya. So she is never touched by sorrow.
Yes,
So
but that is true for all the Nityamuktas also, like Ananta, Garuda, Vishaksena, etc. Whether he touches upon them or not, I am not familiar because I have not read that portion of the work.
Right. So just as you
that
say,
definition, that it can become over, we call it as Ativyapti or over pervasive if it is limited to that. Because Nityamuktas also are untouched by dukkha, like Ananta, Garuda, Vishaksena, etc. in our Sampradaya. So whether he discusses that aspect or not, I am not very familiar in that. Chet Brahman Jetyesha Chatura Chaturakshari Kamavastham Prapadyante Jantavo Antamadrishah Punyam Bhoja Vikasaya Papadvan Takshayaya Shriman Avirabhut Bhumu Ramanuja Divakaraha Trinikrita Virinchari Nirankusha Vibhutayaha Ramam Japadam Bhoja Samashrena Shaminaha.
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
ॐ नमो नारायणाय ॐ नमो नारायणाय